Welcome everybody to Now's the Time podcast, part 2 on addictions. In the first part, we talked about several things. One of the things was understanding you have an addiction and where it came from. Nobody wakes up and says, I want to take and be a drug addict when I grow up, or I want to be working hard and take all my money to the racetrack and lose it when I grow up, or I want to be an alcoholic when I grow up, and I want to drink so much and smoke so much that I die at 40 years old, or I want to be so addicted to work that I'm 70 years old and I don't know anybody because I was gone my whole life. So you have to find out where the addiction comes from. And a lot of things start when you're young, but we all have a need for certainty in life. We need to be certain of something. For me, it was to prove I'm a winner. Every company I worked for, I did whatever it took to be number one nationally. From the time I graduated high school, I was obsessed with one thing: be the best. Be the best. In high school, I knew that I would die a multimillionaire. I knew because we grew up so poor, and I somehow related to money is self-worth. If you have no money, you're not worth much. If you have no money, you struggle. You don't have respect. If you have no money and you're not worth much and you have no self-respect, guess what? You don't have any self-esteem. I based my habits on artificial things that was in my head. My father loved me very much, and we were middle class. But I didn't know. Other kids in the school, they all had the nicest clothes, and their fathers were builders, and they're walking around best dressed, a different shirt on every day. The freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, and they're competing against other kids, and for their 16th birthday, they're getting Mercedes. I had to work to earn $400 to get a 1962 Buick Skylark convertible. Everything was broken down to classes. I, at one time, had a scholarship for math to college. And it was a partial scholarship where I wanted to go to speed school at University of Louisville. And I'm a U of L fan, growing up in Louisville, Kentucky. But we didn't have enough money for me to go to college. And it was really inexpensive back then in the 1970s. So I was driven to make money. When I sold pots and pans, I worked in a warehouse making $5 an hour. In 1975, 76, I would make $200 a week. Even though I worked 60 hours, I got paid for 40. I wanted to show I could do the job to get ahead. And I cleared $150 a week. When I left that job, I had told the boss that my wife's pregnant, going to have a baby, and I do more work than the offices in Cincinnati, but they're union. They get $15 an hour, and I'm getting $5 an hour. There's 6 of those people up there, 3 in the warehouse and 3 drivers. We had 3 drivers down here and me. And I'm coming in early, I'm staying late to get the job done. I don't mind that, but I want to get paid the $15 an hour. And my boss told me, Ronnie, if you don't like what I pay you, and if you and your wife can't afford a child, get an abortion. Not my problem. And you see that Mercedes out front? Yes, sir. Everything that doesn't go into your pocket goes into my pocket in the form of a bonus. So everybody in the office said that's just the way he was, a totally unfair guy. And I came in the next day and said, see those rights on the wall there? It says if I work overtime, I get time and a half. So I figured, 20 extra hours a week, counting Saturdays on most of the weeks, I'm going to get $750. That's another $150. And my wife can take off from the clothing store she worked at to have the baby. And he came out and said, "You're going to get your blankety blank off that tow motor." And I said, "No. Yeah, I'm on lunch break. Over there it says I get a break for lunch from 11 to 11:30. I'm happy if you okay it, then I'll work through lunch. But that's the law. And here's the company policies." Had the company handbook. And he told me, "If you don't like it, there's the door. I own you. You're going to have a baby, and I own you." Now I'm like, okay. I was so enraged. I said, "I'll just take the door." Now I have no job. I've just quit the job that I had. It's October. And my wife's going to have the baby in February. So I went to the mall the next day. I got up early and acted like I went into work. I went to the park. I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I want to get into something to where I determine how much I'm worth every day. I want to get into sales. I want to sell something. My uncle built Kirby Company. He always had a Cadillac and a big mansion. I want to sell something. So I went to the mall, Shelbyville Road Mall, and I said in the bookstore, "I want a great book about sales, how to." And they said, "You wanted this book over here by Og Mandino called The World's Greatest Salesman." I'm like, okay. I read the book. The next day, I went to the park, and it was Friday. Read the book again. Excuse me. I looked in the paper, and I went in an ad on Monday that said, sports-minded individuals, $100 a day. And the ad attracted my attention. I went in, and the person interviewing me was Matt Bowen. He had on a Rolex. Chauncey Edwards had on a Rolex. Chauncey had a Mercedes out front. I said, "I don't know what these guys are doing, but I want to do it because they're all got Rolexes and they all got Mercedes." I started selling pots and pans, knives and bars for Larry Hahn out of the Louisville office. My first week I cleared $1,100. I didn't tell my wife I had quit work and was doing something else. Finally, after 2 weeks, I made over $1,500 the second week, and I set all the Kentucky records the first week for sales. The second week, I even sold more, and out of the 6,000 reps for Larry Hahn, back then, maybe 15 or 10 would do the 100 club. My second week, I sold over the 100. Chauncey said, "If you're in the 100 club, Larry knows your name. You want to stay there." And every week was more, 101, 105, 112. My 8th week, I set the national record. So all my self-worth was equated to money. When I went with my wife to the baby doctor, I had $5,000, $6,000 5 weeks later saved in a drawer. I told the doctor, I said, "How much does it cost for your fee to have a baby? I lost my insurance and I'll just pay you cash if I have it." And he said, $3,000. And I said, "I got $3,000. And I gave him, for my daughter Tammy, I gave him $3,000. I said, "Doc, if I don't get a good one, I want my money back." He said, "Okay." So everything about me, I was able to take and remodel the house. I was able to buy new baby furniture. I was able to put in oak floors. I was able to put in air conditioning over the next few months. Everything. My father, he was one, "Where's all this money coming from?" I said, "I'm not selling drugs. I'm selling pots and pans like Uncle Harold. And I don't have a salary. It's commission only, but I'm doing quite well. I'm one of the best in the country." He said, "I can never do that, but maybe that's your forte. Maybe that's what God gave you the gift of gab." So you have to take and analyze, what does your addiction cost you? If you don't change, will you magically get over it? Will you magically get okay? Will you magically stop drinking? Will you magically stop working? You have to find your why. And you have to be honest with yourself. Then I tell you, you will lie to yourself over and over till you decide what you really want to accomplish in life. You're only here for X amount of years, and if you are working to die, that's all you're going to know. You're going to work, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, go on a couple vacations, have some dinners, work, have a new Mercedes, work. Year after year after year after year. I did it for 29 years. But Mila saved my life. So you have to find out what you want in life. Do you want to have a relationship with your kids, your grandkids? Do you want to repair your marriage or your significant other? Whatever the case might be, you have to put your head on that pillow and you have to be honest with yourself. So you have to start out with honesty. You have to start out with step by step, waking up every day in gratitude. After you wake up every day in gratitude, then you have to wake up in that blue light special. And we'll get into the blue light in just a moment.